Hello, and welcome to another episode of Good Fat Life. And it's a holiday weekend, and so there's lots of holiday energy around. It just feels like there's something special in the air. Not that there isn't always with a Good Fat Life podcast, but right? So my special guest today is Brenda Lindsay, and she's going to talk to us about mindfulness and meditation.
Yeah.
Right? So welcome, Brenda.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here, Sherry.
Oh, I'm so excited about this. And as I said, when I I've been a meditator for at least 30 years, daily. I mean, my family knows, do not come near me when it's my meditation time. Yes. But I didn't know that there was a difference. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about you, but also about, deepening my practice probably.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
lifelong journey. It's a
lifelong journey. So tell me, so you have your company's name is Mind Transformations, right? So tell me, how did you get started in all of this?
So early in my leadership career, I was petrified of public speaking.
Okay. As are many, right?
Yeah. But petrified.
Okay.
As in paralyzed by public speaking. So I had to read off a form. I couldn't form a sentence publicly without reading off a form verbatim. That petrified.
But did you have a job or a reason that you needed to be speaking in public?
Yeah, I wanted to get to a certain level at the organization I was with, and I knew I wouldn't be able to get to that level without figuring out how to speak publicly, right?
Oh, okay.
I tried Toastmasters.
Okay. I did that too. Yeah.
I tried a lot of stuff, and it was like jumping into a pit of snakes every time.
Oh my God, that's
I
terrible.
spoke, even at Toastmasters. So I would say it was more of a phobia than a fear of public speaking. It was, I hung in there as best as I could for a year, and there was slight change, but it just wasn't enough. It was the suffering from standing up, speaking publicly. I didn't derive enough benefit from it. Right?
Okay.
And I was also reactive. So I found that I struggled with conflict. I'd have these feelings in my chest, and I would just spew, right? Whatever I felt. So I struggled with conflict, and not all the time, of course. But in my job, I knew it wasn't cool to be arguing with your boss or in conflict with your boss. So I was looking for ways to also.
But you could be argumentative in an
unhealthy way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in an unhealthy way.
As long as it wasn't in public, like on a stage.
Yeah, I didn't argue on stage. You're right. That would have added to the trauma of speaking publicly, right? But you're funny. So I just stumbled across mindfulness. Part of it was because I was taking holistic health and wellness at Western, and mindfulness was mentioned there. I happened to go to a festival of faith in Kentucky, and as exposed to various religions, including Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, and various stuff. And we practiced meditation at this festival, and I thought, wow, all these signs are coming at me, right, about meditation and mindfulness. So I started a practice, and I literally started listening to Oprah Winfrey and Deepak Chopra's free 21-day series.
Oh my gosh, I did that too. In fact, I was just listening to one of those yesterday because they're on my computer.
I love it.
They're so timeless,
yeah,
right? And they're so accessible.
So accessible, and it's about 12 minutes, 15 minutes, or whatever. So I started listening to that, and I started noticing shifts, Sherry, and bit by bit, I was less fearful of public speaking. Bit by bit, I started noticing body sensations, and I was able to pause long enough to get into the prefrontal cortex of my mind, which is a rational part of our brain. So when we pause, we activate that part of our brain as opposed to just the amygdala where we're spewing whatever we feel, right?
That's our snake brain.
Yeah. Our reptilian part of our brain, exactly. We need it to survive, right? But it's just, we don't need it for everything, right? Most of the time, we don't need to be activating that part of our brain's driving, like you see it, right? When everybody's driving and whatnot. But bit by bit, I started to shift, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And I also felt like I was living behind a glass where I wasn't really connected with myself. I couldn't really connect with the person across from me. I felt like there was a glass between us. And that glass slowly started to lower when I developed a consistent mindfulness practice or a meditation practice.
Talk a little bit more about that, because there's such a correlation if you're living behind that glass, which my guess is a large part of the population is.
Yeah, it's very, very possible. In that glass was past experiences, past traumatic experiences, which many of us come from trauma in one form or another, right? It doesn't have to be something huge. Many of us come from traumatic pasts. And that's the glass that's there to protect us in a sense, right? We sort of close down in order to protect ourselves from the world. And it takes a practice of some sort. It's not just mindfulness. There's other things out there that help heal trauma, but mindfulness is something that organically can literally change the structure of our brain.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
You're right.
And
yeah.
it can connect the mind and the body, right?
Yeah.
When you start to notice sensations in the body, right? The body doesn't necessarily lie to us. The mind can make stuff up.
All the time.
Yeah, just because we think it doesn't mean it's true, right? But the body will tell us what's going on, and we can pause, get present, activate that prefrontal cortex, and then respond. It's a beautiful practice, and to your point, it can be very helpful for those that struggle with conflict or maybe have a phobia of some sort. It can be very healing.
So what's the difference between mindfulness and meditation?
Yeah, good question. So mindfulness is simply present moment awareness, right? Without judgment. So in other words, you have your hand on the table. Do you feel the weight of your hands on the table? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you feel your fingers touching each other?
I do.
Do you notice tingling sensations maybe in the hands?
Yeah.
Some sort of, So you're present to sensations right now. So that's one form of present moment awareness. It could be, what do you smell? What's in your visual field? What are you hearing? You're very present right now to our conversation. You have to be.
Right.
Running a podcast. I hope you don't have to be, but I hope you are. But it also can be present with the thoughts that are going on in our minds, asking yourselves, okay, I see, I'm observing you thought, but is this serving me right now? Often we're in a form of rumination or worry, right?
Right.
And when we have a consistent mindfulness or meditation practice, we can make a choice. So to get back to your question, meditation is the practice, the foundational practice to cultivate mindfulness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it can also be a body scan. It could also be mindful movement, like yoga, if you're present to the breath and to sensations in the body. It's sometimes hard to be present when you're doing, really fast yoga, like hot yoga or whatever have you. But slow movements, being present with, the muscles moving, the body moving, the joints moving.
I like the yoga that is where you hold a pose for a while.
Yeah.
Like just to me that
yin
just
yoga.
Is that
Yeah.
I don't even know what it's called, but I really like those classes where you just hold it until you're almost. You go like through almost a painful process, and then you move through that.
It settles in, and you notice sensations of the body. So that's present moment awareness, right?
Right.
And that again is a practice to cultivate mindfulness. Yeah.
So I hadn't thought about them as two separate things, but one of the things that I've come to love so much about meditation, and maybe this is the mindfulness part, is to your point about bodies.
Yeah.
Our body, I used to be so out of my body. I was just in my head all the time. And, somebody would say, how you feel? Well, I don't really know. We can just shut all that stuff down.
Yeah.
When you get in touch with your body, like you said, bodies don't lie. And they give us so much. They're like, that's how they communicate. Right. And, you mentioned Oprah. So I love the one thing that she said years and years ago that I thought was just so profound was that, our bodies are going to whisper. And then they're going to up it, and then they're going to yell until finally we have to get a brick upside the head, right?
That's exactly it.
To get our attention. And if we can learn to notice when it's quiet,
Pay attention.
it's much easier. It's a much easier process, right?
Yeah. You're exactly right, right? And sadly, as human beings, sometimes we wait until years and years of accumulation of chronic stress or whatever, and that can turn into, headaches, backaches, sleep deprivation. And we cope with stress, right? Sometimes we have maladaptive coping mechanisms. We might drink too much. We might overwork, right?
Overwork, shop, eat. I mean, there's a million.
Overeat,
Yeah.
exactly, to deal with difficult circumstances. We don't necessarily want to face pain, right? So we cope. And of course, that, turns into potential burnout or some of these more chronic illnesses, right, in time. So if we can listen to the whispers of the body, yeah.
So you started with the Oprah and Deepak. They were wonderful. I think there's probably like 10 different series. I actually, when I would teach in college, I would actually, in my creativity class, we would do one of those at each class because I wanted the students to just learn to be quiet for 15 minutes or 12 minutes.
I love that.
And some of them had a really hard time with it, and others just like, okay, they just lay down on the floor.
Wow.
Because I think I've learned, right? It's just so important to be quiet, know how to be quiet with ourselves.
Yeah. And you raised some really good points about for those that find it difficult because the mind thinks it's just what it does, right?
Right.
And if we can notice when we're thinking, when we notice, we're actually present, right? And so we can make a choice to bring our attention back to an anchor. And many people choose the breath, but it can be sound or sensations in the body like the hands, right? And we just keep noticing when we think and bringing it back, right? Noticing, bringing it back with kindness towards ourselves, right? Not harshness. There's a tendency, and this is where people really struggle with practice because they're beating themselves up, thinking they're doing something wrong. This society of, productivity, got to get it right, perfection, where we're just noticing. And with kindness, bringing it back to the present moment again and again without that harshness. So it's present, going back to the original definition, right? Present moment awareness without judgment. Yeah.
One of my favorite words is discernment. Because it's so easy to judge. I mean, we need a way to, and I just like to say, discern. You're just saying, okay, I have a thought. Let's bring it back. I'm discerning it. I'm not judging that I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
I'm just discerning. There's a thought flying by. Okay.
Yeah. We can't stop what pops into our minds.
No.
So even if we have a judgmental thought, we can notice,
I'm having a thought.
I'm having a judgmental thought. So,
okay. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's, right? And then you bring your attention, back to the breath. So in other words, we're not judging the judger.
Right, exactly. But we're discerning because that's how our brain works.
Yeah.
But so you have done a number of things. So what is an MBSR teacher?
That's a good question. It stands for Mindfulness-Based Stress-Reduction, and that is John Kabat-Zinn's program. It's been around for over 45 years.
Okay.
And so consequently, there's over 1,000 studies on mindfulness-based stress reduction because it's so old, right?
Yeah.
So most of the mindfulness studies are based on that MBSR 8-week series. And he started that program, MBSR program, John Kabat-Zinn, in 1979. He opened up the stress reduction clinic at UMass, and he opened it up to help people deal with chronic illness and pain. Since then, obviously, there's tons and tons of benefits that have come out other than, dealing with life's illnesses, right?
Yeah. Oh, no. I'm just looking at you thinking how many studies have been done that really show that when you do these practices, you literally change the structure of your brain.
Yeah.
And there's something really exciting about that.
There is something exciting. Our brain changes all the time based on our experiences. Why it's so hard to change and develop new habits, right, is because our mind is wired for those habits. And so sometimes we have habitual patterns that are really difficult to break. But when we notice, when we're present and start to be aware of that pattern and how we feel, and from that point, we can start to make changes, not from a place of not enoughness, right? But from a place of...
Or I have to change.
I have to change.
Right.
From a place of, ooh, this doesn't feel good.
Right. Or I'm wanting a different outcome. And so as you're saying, as you get really present when that trigger hits or whatever it is, then you can choose differently.
You're present. So let's say you're doom scrolling on social media on your phone, just doom scrolling. And then you suddenly start to notice what that feels like, right? When you notice what it feels like, you're present. And then you can make a choice based on wisdom. And hopefully compassion towards yourself.
Yeah. So what, so how did this change your life? Like when you started out by saying you could be confrontive. So what happened? How did that actually change for you?
Well, I think the best example I can give you is let's say I had a relationship with my boss. I'd get triggered by him at times, and I thought, oh, this isn't good, but I couldn't stop it, right? And then one time after I started mindfulness, I responded to him, and I actually shared what was going on with me, that I didn't feel trusted when, so many questions are being asked of me. It feels like you don't trust me. And, maybe whether that was the right thing to say or not, it was enough, though, for him to pause himself and say, wow, Brenda, I didn't realize I was doing that. And from that point on, our relationship shifted. And our relationship only blossomed from that point on. But normally I would just react with defensiveness, right? And thinking that, well, I'm being defensive. He should know something's up with me. Well, and
I mean, we all come with our own skill sets, if you will. Right?
So that's just an example is always probably the best way to explain what happened to relationships, right? And as I got to know myself better, as I started to open up, that closed up person that was protecting herself, that lived behind that glass. As I got to know myself, I got to know other people. I knew my pain. I could be more compassionate with Sherry's pain or Sherry's joys, and have more empathy for people as well, more connection.
That's something. Yeah, when you said that, it really made me think, because I'd had a conversation. Jen McClure was on the podcast a few weeks ago, and she had said had gone through 4 years of real serious depression. But one of the things as she was getting to know, going through her stuff, she realized that she hadn't been real with people either. It was like living behind the glass, right?
Yes.
And so, but as she got to know herself better and understand that's coming down. So then you get to have really real relationships with people.
Exactly. And you can make wise
changes
choices.
Everything.
Yeah, and you can make wise choices. You can say, maybe that, that relationship doesn't necessarily feel supportive, or, I don't necessarily feel respected with that relationship. And perhaps you can say something or whatever. But if it's a continuous habitual pattern, you can make choices as well that honor
who you are.
Yeah. Ourselves, right? And it's no disrespect to the individual. No, we're all on our own journeys, right? And I'm sure there's times I wanted to connect with people in my past, but I wasn't in a place to connect.
To do that. Do you think that that part of that comes with just wisdom, just being on the planet longer, or
there's no doubt as we age, we we mature. In fact, one of the changes that occur is this greater folding in our cerebral cortex from a mindfulness practice. And older adults have a little bit more this folding.
Of the folds, okay.
So there's a little bit of that is true. Certainly we get a little wiser as we mature, and we don't sweat the small stuff is enough. But mindfulness is the super highway to that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I even see my grandchildren being taught that. I mean, I practice it, so and my kids do in their way. Because it doesn't mean, it's not like you have to sit and be like, right? There's lots of ways. You could take a walk. There's lots of ways that you can have your practice. But I am noticing that kids are being taught, even in school, to pause.
I love that.
Right? To pause and get in touch with themselves, with their bodies, and I just think it's just so healthy.
It is so healthy, and how wonderful. I think back about my parents. Right, they didn't have the tools. Women basically just had to smile, and be nice. And meanwhile, they're stewing inside, right? And they're looking for all these ways to cope with all these resentments, women of my mom's generation. Not all, of course, but many.
Right.
Because it wasn't necessarily accepted in society, right? Like it is now. I mean, you look at all the self-help books, all the practices out there. We're so blessed. We're so fortunate. And in the kids, like you said, of today, that are being exposed to mindfulness and meditation practices and yoga and mindful walking, being present with their senses. How wonderful.
It is. And I mean, but the world we live in is pretty crazy, right?
It
so
is.
There's plenty of room, as one of my friends like to say, I'm employable. My skills are still needed, right?
Yeah. Yes.
To help with this. Well, so if somebody is wanting, you've gotten different trainings and you've gone to different conferences and explored different ways to hone your practice. What would you suggest if somebody's like, where do I even start?
Obviously, it worked for me starting with far as in detox meditation, and people can use apps and just find a mindfulness teacher on an app like Insight Timer.
I was going to say, I love Insight Timer.
But part of it with just starting that way is you don't get to know all the attributes and with an app, or the importance of being kind to ourselves, right? Because some people get so hung up on thinking that they should be doing this a certain way, should be emptying the mind, for instance. It's not about emptying the mind. Through a consistent practice, we may have a more spacious mind in time, right? But the mind is always...
monkey mind, right? I just thought that was just such a great term for how our minds work. It's just like...
So can we accept that, right?
Yeah.
Can we just accept that? I would also encourage taking a class. And whether it's with me, I happen to have a 4-week series starting on July the 9th for just
that's right.
4 weeks.
And is it online?
It's virtual on Zoom.
Oh, okay, on Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and her husband has got a lot of PTSD. Right, and we know from the research what this kind of a practice can do for PTSD.
Yes,
right. It's just but a person has to be interested in, like you say, making changes. Right.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know, right? So I would encourage people just to give it a couple of weeks. And if they see a little bitty shift, keep going, because it only gets better. And, if you can take a course, if you can afford a course, or as I mentioned, there's plenty of apps out there, many good teachers out there. And start small. Start a couple minutes a day, right? And gradually work up to 5 minutes, 10 minutes. There's some science out there that suggests it takes, a minimum of 12 minutes to really get benefit out of it. But to me, even starting with 5 minutes is great, right?
Right.
I think Oprah and Deepak's, there's a lot of talking in there, right? I think their tapes were only 12 minutes, 12, 13 minutes. I listen to CDs.
CDs, right. I downloaded it on my computer. So it was just funny that one of those popped up yesterday.
I love it.
Yeah, and it was just immediately, because that's the other thing that happens, is as you do this, your brain can go like immediate in a second. It can go right there by having done the practice for over time.
Yeah, we can. That's exactly it. By practicing, we can be more present in life outside of practice. That doesn't mean like my mind can still be all over the place. But when my body starts to talk to me, when I don't really feel good, I go up there and say, okay, what's going on? Is this serving me? Thinking about this conversation,
over and
over again. No, it's not. Then I can choose to let it go. Right. But it's the body that talks to me and lets me know something's up.
Right.
Before I notice the racing mind.
Right. And that's the part, I don't know. That's the part I think that's key is like we said earlier, is our bodies will tell us.
Yeah.
And we just have to be mindful enough to pay attention.
Right. And we get there through practice, right?
We get there through practice. It's like anything.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly right? Each time we're noticing that we're thinking, we're exercising that mindfulness muscle, right? Just like a bicep curl. Our minds deserve workouts too.
Right. Because they are, it's no different than anything else.
Exactly.
But we're not taught that.
No.
I was reading something the other day about AI, right? It's that there was a study that was done, and it got a lot of media attention, saying that we're losing our ability to think because we're reliant on AI, and that's not true. It could be, depending on how you use it.
Right.
So if you use it as a tool, as another way to help you gather data, build whatever, and then you still are applying your thought process to what you're looking at, that's cognitive thinking, right?
Yeah, like I use it, and I give my own voice.
Right.
To, when I'm doing a search on AI, I give my own voice to the content, but instead of struggling and spending time. Like my goal is to help people, right? My goal isn't necessarily to struggle looking for the perfect words for 20 minutes writing a post, right? I want to get to helping people.
So I've found if anything, it's helping me think better, in the sense of you kind of know. And I don't mean to kind of like go off on this tangent, but it's like you know what you want to say, or the feeling you want to create, or what it is you're wanting to express. And we know that. Again, that's a body thing. We intuitively know it, but sometimes it's hard to find the words or to get it just right. You're right. You can struggle. It can be frustrating. But if you have with this tool, it's like, no, that's not quite right. I'm looking for this or that. Suddenly, it's like you've got this help that can help you bring out what it is you're wanting to create.
That you're exactly right.
In a bigger way.
And for those of us who are entrepreneurs that don't have a brainstorming team, right? It's like having a little brainstorming session. Coming out of my computer, I think, wow, how do you know me?
Yeah. Well, it to me, it sparks creativity. It helps me think better. It helps me think deeper. And then I was reading, and it just is another way to really use our brains.
I'm a big fan of it, but like everything else, it needs to be used ethically, right? And we have to validate if we're using it for resources, if that makes
Right.
sense,
Oh,
that have a huge impact on other people. Like if we're just looking for it, how to say a few sentences that are more polished than perhaps that we could come up with ourselves, I think it's a wonderful tool. But like everything else in life, ethics
Right.
and responsibility come into play, and accountability, just like everything we do.
Like everything we do. But again, it's that body thing. We feel into it, and we have these bodies 24/7.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I
Yeah.
love that, and I love that meditation and mindfulness and all of this helps us, and even like I just said, AI in a way helps us connect with ourselves in a bigger way.
Yeah. Like when I do something that is not values driven, like I just bought a hybrid, for instance,
Okay.
and it feels aligned, right?
Okay.
I love getting in that vehicle because it's my value, right? I
Right.
know it's not enough. I know, collectively we need to be making bigger changes, but I feel like, oh, wow, at least I'm trying to do
I'm
my
doing
part.
something, right?
It and I know it's a small impact and I could do more, certainly, absolutely. But our body will tell us that our body knows our values.
They do.
And it'll tell us when we're off, when we're not lined up with that North Star
Right.
of ours, whatever that North Star may be.
For each one of us. Well, so just to kind of recap a little bit, so make a decision that you maybe just want to explore a little, right?
Yeah.
Get to know yourself a little. If nothing else, that's one way to get to know yourself better.
Absolutely. Getting to know ourselves a little better, getting to notice the thoughts. Because a lot of us have these subconscious thoughts that are going on in the mind and we're not aware of it, right?
Well, it's like 95% of our thoughts are subconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then suddenly
Right.
you start to notice them, right? So
Yeah.
you can make choices all the time. Is this serving me? Is this serving me? Is this serving me? And you get to know, what's going on in the body because the body's talking to you, right? And once we get more connected with ourselves, we're more connected with others, and we're more connected with the world around us, right? Making choices that align with our values, whatever those values may be.
Yeah. Oh, no. And in the world we live in today, I find it extremely helpful to have that practice for myself. So there will be things that'll happen or I'll hear or whatever, and you just go, you don't want to throw things, right? And so much of it is out of our control. So it's like, well, let me control what I can control,
Right.
and find that peaceful place again.
Yeah, and you can still stand up, but we can stand up in a way with clarity,
Yeah,
with
exactly.
wisdom,
That's a great point.
and without being overwhelmed, right? So we're more we can stand up in a grounded fashion.
Right, and we're not making ourselves sick. Because all of that, those chemicals, those are real things that are negative chemicals that we release when we don't have that groundedness.
Right. And I think that the point of mindfulness, I suppose, in many ways, is to stand up in a way that doesn't hurt the cause that you're standing up for. Our thoughts, our words, and deeds have consequences, right? If we're planting seeds of kindness, compassion, honesty, or planting seeds of anger, hatred, those all have ripple effects in the world. So how are we standing up? Stand up for injustice, of course. But if we're causing damage while we're standing up, it's not helping the cause, right?
Right.
Yes.
And that can be just to ourselves by, like I said, the chemicals release.
To ourselves, and to the cause.
And to the cause. And also then it could be collectively. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
What seeds do we want to plant? through our inner peace, one by one day, who knows? Perhaps we could have outer peace, right?
We could. You know what? And my husband will go, "Oh,
I know.
you're being naive,
I
and
know.
the world is blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Well," but I said, "But just because it's always been that way doesn't mean that makes it true for tomorrow."
Right. And in a way, Sherry, I think in some ways, I think we've evolved just with this awareness, right? I just look at for instance, my mother's generation. And I wish they had the opportunity to live the lives of today.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. Well, and on that happy note, I would like to invite our guests to check out goodfatlife.com. We have a new issue on its way. And it's just so much, it's just full of so many, we have so many great contributors, and their commonality is their desire to make the world a better place, to contribute in their way that they can make, and maybe give our readers, our community, some different thought or idea to think about.
I love that magazine, and thank you, Sherry, for making a difference in the world. So you are spreading a ripple effect into the world. I mean, part of mindfulness is being selective of what we put into our bodies, right?
Right.
We do it with our cars, with oil changes. Can we do it for ourselves too, right?
Oh, that's an interesting way of thinking about it, right? Yeah. Well, and on that note as well, I want to do a shout out for one of our sponsors for Hands-On Health Chiropractic.
Nice.
They are amazing, and I can walk in there feeling great. I mean, I might need I need an adjustment, but I can still walk in there feeling great, and I walk out of there feeling even greater, because the environment is just full of really caring, kind, professional thought leaders who are committed to making the world a better place.
I love it.
And your body, we just know that our bodies work better when we're in alignment, right?
Yeah.
Things flow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, check out Hands-On Health. They're in Brighton and Michigan. And if you are not in Brighton, Michigan, and are looking for a good chiropractor, I know that if you reach out to Hands-On Health, they can help you find one in your community. So on that, I would like to say thank you, Brenda, so much for being here and with Mind Transformations. And we'll put all of your information in our show notes. And you've got a class coming up
on July 9th.
July 9th. Okay. All right. So check it out. Take care.